People ask me all the time, how do you survive with 13 kids? They expect chaos, noise, burnout. They expect me to look exhausted, overwhelmed, barely holding it together. What they don't expect is my answer. 13 kids didn't drain my humanity. They taught me humanity. How to love people when they're loud, messy, emotional, wrong, right, scared, brave, and unfinished. How to see past behavior to the heart underneath. How to forgive 70 times 7. How to laugh when I want to cry. How to stay when I want to run. This is what 13 kids taught me about who we really are, about what it means to be human, about what matters most. Welcome back to We Are The Hansons, the podcast where we talk about family, faith, laughter, chaos, and the beautiful mess of real life. I'm Myia Hanson. If you're new here, yes, you heard that right. 13 kids, 5 grandchildren, 1 more grandchild on the way, and a whole lot of stories that range from hilarious to heartbreaking and everything in between. Today's episode is personal, not polished, not perfect, just honest. It's about the lessons you don't learn from books or podcasts or parenting experts. The lessons you learn from people who live in your house. Eat your food, borrow your clothes without asking, break your heart, and then heal it again in ways you never expected. So grab your coffee, take a breath, and settle in. Maybe turn off your phone for the next 50 minutes. Give yourself permission to just listen and reflect. This is what 13 kids taught me about humanity. I remember one morning, 6:12 a.m. Someone was crying over a lost toy. Someone was laughing hysterically at something only they understood. 2 kids were in a heated argument about whether Fruit Loops or Cheerios was the superior breakfast cereal. And one child was absolutely convinced that the world was ending because we were out of clean socks and nothing else would possibly work. That was before coffee. That was before I even fully woke up. That was just Tuesday. Let's start with the obvious. Humanity is loud. It cries at 2 a.m. over things that seem small but feel enormous. It laughs during serious moments because laughter is how some of us process fear. It slams doors when words aren't enough. It asks questions at the worst possible time because curiosity doesn't wait for convenience. When you have 13 kids, silence becomes suspicious. Silence usually means someone is plotting something, hiding something, or about to break something expensive. I've learned this the hard way when I walked into a quiet living room one afternoon and found that 3 of my kids had decided to give the dog a makeover with permanent markers. They'd turned our English Mastiff into what they called a rainbow puppy. The dog survived. My nerves did not. But in hindsight, that moment was actually beautiful in a chaotic way. They were creating something together. They were collaborating. They were expressing themselves and their wild, uninhabited joy. It was just unfortunate that their canvas was a living creature who couldn't consent to becoming a work of abstract art. And that's the thing about noise. It's rarely just noise. It's communication, it's emotion, it's existence happening out loud. It's humanity refusing to be muted. I used to get so frustrated by constant soundtrack in my house. The arguing over whose turn it was to choose the movie. The laughing that turned into screaming that turned back into laughing. The crying over homework or hurt feelings or just general overwhelm. The yelling from different rooms because walking 10 feet To have a conversation was apparently too much effort. The singing, sometimes on key, usually not. The stomping up and down the stairs, sometimes all happening in different rooms, creating a symphony of chaos. But then I spent a week at a motel, and you know what I felt in that quiet, pristine, perfectly organized hotel room? Lonely, unbearably lonely. I missed the noise, I missed the chaos, I missed the sound of life happening around me. I missed knowing that my people were there, alive, engaged, existing loudly in the world. Because here's what I've learned. Loud doesn't mean broken. Our culture tells us that noise is stress, that stillness equals peace, and a good life is a quiet life. We're sold the idea that chaos means failure, that if your house is loud, you're doing something wrong, that well-behaved children should be seen and not heard. But kids taught me that noise is life. Joy is loud. Just think about it. Weddings, celebrations, victories, reunions, they're all loud. Pain is loud too. Grief doesn't whisper. Growth is loud because change is uncomfortable and disorienting. Discovery is loud because excitement can't contain itself. Think about it. When was the last time you experienced something truly meaningful in silence? Weddings are loud, celebrations are loud, even grief. Real, honest, from the gut grief is loud. Human beings weren't meant to be muted. We weren't designed to experience life on low volume. We were made to laugh until we cry, to cry until we're empty, to shout for joy, to scream in frustration, to sing badly in the shower, to express ourselves fully. I think about times I've tried to quiet my kids. When they were excited about something, when they were processing difficult emotions, when they were just being their authentic, unfiltered selves. And I realize now, I wasn't teaching them peace. I was teaching them to shrink, to be smaller, to take up less space in the world, to make themselves more convenient for me. And when we try to quiet people instead of understanding them, we lose connection. We lose the opportunity to truly know them, to see what they're really feeling underneath all that noise, to understand what they're really saying when words fail them. One of my daughters used to get loud when she was scared. Not angry loud, scared loud. It took me years to realize that when she raised her voice, she wasn't being defiant or disrespectful. She was drowning. She was panicking. She was trying to make herself bigger than the fear that was consuming her. The day I stopped trying to quiet her and started listening to what the loudness meant, everything shifted between us. She didn't need me to shush her. She needed me to hear her. She needed me to understand that volume was her SOS signal. Humanity is noisy because it's alive. And maybe instead of demanding quiet, we should learn to listen better, to hear what's underneath the noise, to understand that sometimes the loudest person in the room is the one who needs the most love. With 13 kids, you quickly learn something important. Attention isn't optional. If you don't give it intentionally, it will be taken creatively, and not always in ways you'll appreciate. I learned early on that if I didn't intentionally notice my kids, who they were becoming, what they were struggling with, what made them light up, they would find a way to be noticed. Sometimes it was good grades, straight A's, academic excellence. Look at me. I'm valuable because I'm smart. Sometimes it was humor, Class clown energy, constant jokes. Look at me, I'm valuable because I'm entertaining. Sometimes it was rebellion. Rules broken, boundaries tested. Look at me, even if you don't like what you see. One of my sons became the family comedian. Every dinner turned into a performance. Every conversation had a punchline. Every serious moment got deflected with a joke. At first I thought he was just naturally funny, that humor was his personality, his gift. Then I realized he was starving. Not for food, for acknowledgement. He had learned that being funny got my attention when nothing else did. So he performed. Night after night, joke after joke, and I laughed and I applauded, but I wasn't seeing him. I was watching his act. And the saddest part, he was so good at it, so naturally gifted at making people laugh that I almost missed it. Almost missed the fact that underneath all those jokes was a kid who just wanted me to ask how he was really doing. A kid who had learned that vulnerability didn't get attention, but humor did. One night after everyone went to bed, I found him still awake in his room. And instead of telling him to go to sleep, something made me stop. Made me sit down on the edge of his bed. I didn't say anything at first. I just sat. And after a few minutes of silence, he started talking. Really talking. Not performing, not making jokes. Just being honest about how hard school was. How lonely he felt sometimes even though he had friends. How he wasn't sure who he was when he wasn't making people laugh. How exhausting it was to always be on. I sat there listening, heartbroken that I almost missed this. That I'd been so distracted by the show, so entertained by the performance, that I hadn't seen the person behind the punchlines. From that night on, I made a commitment. Every week, I would create space for each kid to be seen. Not for what they did, but for who they were. And that's when it hit me. If children act out when they feel invisible, how many adults are doing the same thing every single day? Kids act out when they feel invisible. Adults do the same. We just call it something else. We give it more sophisticated names, more socially acceptable labels. Workaholism. I'm valuable because I'm productive. Addiction. I exist because I feel something, even if it's destructive. Anger. Notice me now, even if you hate what you see. Isolation. I'll disappear before you can ignore me. Perfectionism. I'm flawless because flawed means invisible. Drama. Chaos is better than being forgotten. We create noise in our own ways. We perform, we overachieve, we self-destruct, we do anything. Anything to be noticed, to matter, to exist in someone's awareness. Every single child, no matter their personality, their age, their temperament, wants the same thing. Do you see me? Not do you agree with me? Not, am I impressive? Not, am I perfect enough to deserve your attention? Just, do I matter to you? Do I exist in your world? Am I real to you? I started to experiment a few years ago. Every single day, I would find one moment with each child where I gave them my full attention. No phone, no multitasking, no half listening while I mentally planned dinner, or worried about bills, or thought about my to-do list. Just presence. Just seeing them fully. Sometimes it was only 5 minutes. Sometimes less. But it was 5 minutes of complete presence. Eye contact, active listening, undivided attention. And you know what happened? The behavior issues dropped dramatically. The arguments decreased. The connection deepened. the walls came down. It wasn't about more time. It was about better attention. It was about quality of presence, not quantity of hours. One of my teenagers told me recently, "Mom, I don't need hours with you every day. I just need you to actually be there when you're there. I need you to know that for those few minutes, I'm the most important thing in your world." That hit me so hard I had to sit down. Because how often do we give people the leftovers of our attention? How often are we physically present but emotionally absent? How often do we look at people without actually seeing them? Humanity isn't starving for answers. It's starving for acknowledgement. For someone to put down their phone, close their laptop, turn off the TV, look us in the eye, and say, "I see you. I hear you. You matter to me. You're not invisible." And when people feel seen, they soften. The walls come down, the defensiveness fades, the masks drop, the real person emerges. Because visibility is healing. Being truly seen is one of the most powerful experiences a human being can have. Here's the truth that makes people deeply uncomfortable. Love is not equal. And that doesn't mean it's unjust. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It means it's real. Each child needed something different from me. One needed firmness and structure to feel safe. One needed patience and endless second chances to believe they were worthy. One needed space to become themselves. One needed constant reassurance that they were enough. One needed me to laugh with them, to match their energy, to celebrate their joy. Another needed me to sit in silence beside them, to respect their need to process alone. One of my kids needed me to push them toward their potential because they were capable of so much more than they believed, and another needed me to stop pushing entirely and just accept them exactly where they were because the pressure was crushing them. One thrived on physical affection, hugs, high fives, sitting close during movies. Another felt suffocated by too much touching and needed space to process emotions alone, needed permission to not be a hugger. I have one child who processes everything verbally. They need to talk things out, think out loud, work through problems by discussing every possible angle with another human being. And I have another child who shuts down completely if I push them to talk before they're ready. They need silence, time, and space to figure things out internally first. They need me to stop asking questions and just trust that they'll come to me when they're ready. Same parents, same house, same love, completely different approaches. I remember the guilt I felt when I realized I was parenting each child differently. It felt like favoritism. It felt unfair. It felt like I was loving some more than others. One day, one of my kids said, "How come you let her do that, but you don't let me?" And I froze because I didn't have a good answer that sounded fair. I didn't have a one-size-fits-all rule I could point to. But then my husband said something that changed everything. He looked at our child and said, "Because she's not you, and you're not her. And fair doesn't mean everyone gets the same thing. It means everyone gets what they need." Then I had a conversation with one of my older daughters. I was apologizing for something, explaining that I was trying so hard to be fair to everyone, but kept failing. And she stopped me and said, "Mom, you don't love us the same. You love us specifically." She said, "You know exactly what each of us needs, and you give us that. That's not unfair. That's actually the most loving thing you could do. I don't want to be treated like everyone else. I want to be treated like me." That changed everything for me. I stopped trying to treat everyone equally and started trying to treat everyone appropriately. And you know what happened? The kids stopped competing for fairness. They stopped keeping score. They started trusting that I knew them, that I saw them, that I loved them specifically for who they were. Fairness says everyone gets the same. Love says everyone gets what they need. Think about a garden for a moment. You don't water every plant the same amount. Some need full sun. Some need shade. Some need constant attention and careful pruning. Others thrive when you leave them alone to grow wild. A good gardener doesn't treat every plant equally. They treat every plant appropriately. They learn what each one needs and they provide it. Humanity works the same way. We want systems to fix people, rules that work universally, solutions we can apply to everyone. One size fits all parenting, one size fits all leadership, one size fits all relationships, one size fits all love. But people aren't systems. They're not machines that respond the same way to the same input. They're stories. Contradictory, beautiful stories. And every story needs a different kind of listening, a different kind of response, a different kind of love. One of my sons needed structure and clear boundaries to feel safe. Rules made him feel secure. Knowing what was expected helped him thrive. Another son felt suffocated by the exact same structure. Too many rules made him feel controlled, not loved. He needed freedom to make mistakes and learn from them. Same parents, same intention, completely different needs. One of my daughters needed words of affirmation constantly. I'm proud of you. You're amazing. I see how hard you're working. Without those words, she doubted everything about herself. Another daughter needed me to stop talking so much and just be with her. Too many words felt performative to her. She needed quiet presence, not constant verbal affirmation. And love listens before it labels. It doesn't say, that's what everyone needs, so this is what I'll give. It asks, what do you need? How can I love you in a way that actually reaches you? The hardest part about this? Accepting that what works beautifully for one person might actually hurt another. That being a good parent, a good friend, a good partner means being flexible, not rigid. It means caring more about connection than consistency, more about people than principles, more about hearts than rules. Let's be honest about something. Kids break stuff. We've lost lamps to impromptu indoor soccer games, phones to toilet swimming lessons, walls to furniture rearrangement experiments, doors to emotional slams, furniture to creative forts, and one unforgettable incident involving a ceiling fan, a jump rope, and a YouTube tutorial that shall never be spoken of again. The replacement cost alone could have funded a small car. But what surprised me wasn't what they broke in the house. It was what they broke in me. There were days I felt unseen myself. Not just by my kids, but by everyone. Days I questioned whether I was doing any of this right, whether I mattered, whether I was making any difference at all. Days I cried in the bathroom, not because I was weak, but because I needed 5 minutes to feel like a human being instead of just a function. I remember one particular season where everything felt like it was falling apart. One kid was struggling in school, not just academically, but socially. They were being bullied, coming home in tears, and I felt completely powerless to protect them. I couldn't fix it. I couldn't make it stop. I could only watch my child suffer. Another was going through a health crisis that we didn't have answers for yet. Doctor's appointments, tests, specialists, waiting, fear. The kind of fear that wakes you up at 3 a.m. in a cold sweat. My marriage felt distant, not because we didn't love each other, but because we were both so depleted from giving everything to everyone else that we had nothing left for us. We were operating as a functional team, but we'd forgotten how to be partners, lovers, friends. I felt like I was failing everyone. Failing as a mother, failing as a wife, failing as a human being, failing at the one job I've chosen above all others. And I broke. Not in a dramatic way, not in an obvious way, in a quiet, devastating, slow motion kind of way. I stopped believing I was enough. I stopped believing I mattered. I started to think that my family would genuinely be better off if I just disappeared for a while. If someone else, someone better, someone more patient, someone less broken, could step in and do this job I was clearly failing at. One night I sat on the kitchen floor after everyone went to bed and I just wept. Not pretty crying, ugly, exhausted crying. The kind where you can't catch your breath and snot is running down your face and you just don't even care who might hear you or see you. And my oldest daughter came out. She was supposed to be asleep, but she heard me. And she came to me. She didn't say anything at first. She just sat next to me on that cold kitchen floor. This beautiful teenage girl who should have been dreaming, sitting with her completely broken mother. Then she put her hand on my back, just rested it there, and said quietly, "Mom, you don't have to be unbreakable. We just need you to be real." And I realized in that moment, I'd been so focused on being strong that I'd forgotten to be human. So focused on holding it together that I'd denied myself the right to fall apart. So focused on being what I thought they needed that I'd hidden who I actually was. And here's the lesson that took me years to learn. Broken things aren't useless. They're invitations. Invitations to repair, to forgive, to grow stronger at the seams, to be honest about our limits, to ask for help, to be human. Japanese has this beautiful concept art where broken pottery is repaired with gold. The cracks aren't hidden, they aren't disguised, they're highlighted, filled with precious metal, turned into something even more beautiful than the original. The breaking and the healing, they're both part of the story. The scars become art. Humanity isn't fragile, it's resilient. We survive more than we think we can survive. We heal more than we believe we can heal. We become stronger in the exact places where we once thought we were completely ruined. My kids have broken me, broken my illusions, broken my pride, broken my need for control, broken my belief that I could do this perfectly. And they've also healed me. They've shown me my limits, and then shown me I'm capable of more than I knew. They've shattered my illusions of control and given me something better. Connection, real love, not performance. Being broken isn't the end. It's the beginning of becoming real. Like a velveteen rabbit. You don't become real without getting worn down, without losing some hair, without getting a little shabby around the edges. That's what love does. It wears you down until you're real. You can't control 13 kids. Trust me, I've tried. Oh, how I've tried. I've had schedules, systems, rules, consequences, charts on the wall tracking every behavior, color-coded calendars, checklists, expectations posted on the refrigerator, Structures that would make a military general proud. And you know what happened? Life laughed at my plans, just absolutely mocked them. Kids got sick on the day I planned the perfect educational field trip. Teenagers made choices I hadn't prepared them for, hadn't even imagined they'd face. Toddlers destroyed things I didn't know were physically possible to destroy. Plans failed before we even started. Systems broke down within hours. And I spent more time trying to enforce the structure than actually connecting with my kids. I remember one particular instance. One of my kids broke a rule, a significant rule, one we discussed multiple times. And according to my carefully constructed system, there was a consequence, a big one, non-negotiable. But when I sat down to enforce it, something felt wrong in my gut. I looked at this kid, this beautiful, struggling, imperfect kid who was trying so hard to figure life out. And I realized they didn't need punishment. They needed help. They hadn't broken the rule because they were defiant or trying to hurt me. They broke it because they were completely overwhelmed and didn't know what else to do. They were drowning, and breaking the rule was their way of screaming for help. And in that moment, I had a choice. Stick to the system, maintain consistency, follow through with the consequences, or choose grace. Schedules break, plans fail, rules evolve. Life is messy and complicated and rarely fits into neat boxes. You know what I learned? Control creates compliance. Grace creates transformation. That's a massive, fundamental difference between the two. Compliance is external. It's behavior modification. It's, I'll do what you want because I'm afraid of what happens if I don't. It's obedience without heart change. It's performance without growth. Transformation is internal. It's, I'm becoming who I'm meant to be because I feel safe enough to grow. It's change that comes from the inside out, not from the outside in. It's real, lasting, authentic growth. And here's what's wild. Transformation actually lasts. Compliance is temporary. The second you're not watching, compliance disappears. But transformation, that stays. That becomes part of who someone is. I spent years and years trying to control my kids' behavior, trying to make them fit into a vision I had for who they should be, trying to mold them into mini versions of what I thought was right. And all I got was exhaustion, distance, resentment on both sides. Kids who were obedient in front of me and completely different when I wasn't around. Then I shifted. Instead of asking, how do I make them behave? I started asking, how do I help them become? Instead of control, I offered guidance instead of fear. I offered safety instead of perfection. I offered grace. Grace says, I see you, I see you're struggling, and I'm here. I know you messed up. I know you made a terrible choice, and I still love you. You're still valuable. You're still worthy. You're still mine. Human beings change faster when they feel safe, not scared. Fear modifies behavior importantly. Fear modifies behavior temporarily. Grace changes hearts permanently. Think about your own life for a moment. When was the last time someone criticized you into growth, shamed you into transformation, made you feel small until you decided to be better? It doesn't work. It never works. But when someone believes in you even when you mess up, when they see your potential even when you can't see it yourself, when they love you through your worst moments instead of condemning you for them, that changes everything. That creates space for real growth. And that's not just true for children. That's true for marriages, friendships, workplaces, communities, every single relationship you'll ever have. When you lead with control, we get obedience at best, rebellion at worst, resentment either way. When you lead with grace, we get growth, connection, transformation, real relationship. With 13 kids, you're going to get hurt. Not just physically. Though I've taken more elbows to the face than a hockey goalie, stepped on more Legos than should be humanly possible, and sustained injuries I didn't know were achievable from normal household activities. Emotionally, deeply, unexpectedly. Kids say things they don't mean in the heat of anger. They push you away when they need you most because they don't know how else to process what they're feeling. They make choices that terrify you, choices that put them at risk. They break your heart in ways you didn't even know were possible. And if you don't learn to forgive, you'll suffocate on resentment. You'll drown in bitterness. Forgiveness isn't optional in a large family. It's oxygen. You either breathe it in constantly or you die slowly. You either learn to let things go or you'll spend your whole life keeping score. And trust me, keeping score in a family of 15 means you'll never stop counting. I'm not talking about fake forgiveness here. Not the kind where you say, I forgive you through gritted teeth, but secretly keep a detailed record of every wrong for future reference. Not the kind where you bring up later in an argument as ammunition. Not the kind where you say the words, but hold on to the wound. I'm talking about real forgiveness, the costly kind, the kind that requires you to let go of the right punish. The kind that means actually releasing the offense instead of just pretending to. One of my teenagers went through a phase, a long, difficult phase, where every conversation felt like a battle. Every request was met with attitude. Every boundary was tested and pushed and crossed. Every interaction left me feeling disrespected, unappreciated, invisible. And I was hurt. Deeply, profoundly hurt. This was a child I sacrificed for, stayed up nights for, poured my life into, and this was how they were treating me? I remember thinking, after everything I've done for you, after all I'd given up for you, this is how you treat me? The resentment was building. The hurt was solidifying into something harder, something that felt permanent. Then I realized something that changed my perspective completely. They weren't trying to hurt me. They were trying to survive adolescence. They were trying to figure out who they were apart from me, separate from my expectations, independent from my vision for their life. And their anger, it wasn't about me at all. It was about them. It was about the confusion and the fear and uncertainty of becoming a person. It was about not knowing who the person was supposed to be. And I had a choice. Hold on to the hurt and create distance. Build walls, keep score. Make them earn their way back into my good graces. Or forgive and create space for reconnection. I chose forgiveness. Not because they deserved it, not because they earned it, not even because they asked for it, but because our relationship was worth more than my wounded pride. Because I loved them more than I needed to be right. Because holding on to hurt was slowly killing something precious between us. And you know what happened? A few years later, years of choosing forgiveness over resentment, years of choosing connection over being right, that same kid looked at me with tears in their eyes and said, "Thank you for not giving up on me when I was awful. Thank you for loving me when I was completely unlovable." Humanity needs forgiveness like it needs air. We all mess up, every single one of us. We all say things we regret. We all hurt people we love. We all fail, specifically at being people we want to be. And if we can't find a way to forgive and be forgiven, we'll live in isolation. We'll build walls around ourselves so high that nothing can hurt us, but nothing can reach us either. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean pretending it never happened. It doesn't mean there aren't consequences. It doesn't mean you immediately trust someone who's broken your trust. It means choosing connection over contempt. It means refusing to let bitterness steal your future. It means loving someone enough to release them from the debt they owe you. If you don't laugh in a house with 13 kids, you won't make it. That's not hyperbole. That's survival strategy. There was a season where I felt like I was failing constantly. Like every single day brought new evidence that I was incompetent, overwhelmed, barely holding it together. Nothing was going according to plan. The house looked like a tornado, had a fight with a hurricane. I couldn't remember the last time I had a conversation with my husband that didn't involve logistics or crisis management, or whose turn it was to deal with whatever disaster had just happened. I was drowning, and I wasn't laughing. Then one of my kids looked at me during absolute chaos. I don't even remember what had happened. Probably something involving spilt milk or broken glass or someone crying, and said with perfect comedic timing, "Well, at least we're interesting. Nobody's going to write boring books about this family." And I laughed. I laughed so hard I cried. I laughed until I couldn't breathe. I laughed until the kids started laughing at me laughing. And suddenly, the chaos didn't feel quite overwhelming. Laughter saved our family more times than discipline ever did. Laughing at messes instead of crying over them. Laughing at mistakes instead of being crushed by them. Laughing at ourselves instead of taking ourselves so seriously all the time. One morning, I walked into the kitchen to find that someone had attempted to make pancakes unsupervised. There was batter everywhere. On the counters, on the floor, on the walls, on the ceiling. The ceiling. I stood there trying to figure out the physics of how you get pancake batter on a ceiling and came up empty. I had two choices in that moment. Lose my mind, completely lose it, scream about responsibility and following rules and making messes, or lose it laughing. I chose laughter. I took a picture. We all cleaned it up together while making jokes about our newfound career as abstract ceiling artists. And now it's one of our favorite family stories. Because here's the truth. In 20 years, nobody's going to remember how clean my house was on any given Tuesday. Nobody's going to care if my kitchen was spotless or if the laundry was always folded and put away on schedule. But they'll remember if I was fun to be around. They'll remember if mom could laugh at herself. They'll remember if home felt joyful or stressful. Humor reminds us that life is temporary and precious, that we're figuring this out as we go, that nobody actually knows what they're doing, that perfection is not only impossible, but actually really boring. I think we take ourselves way too seriously sometimes. We treat every parenting moment like it's a referendum on our worth as human beings. Every mess like it's evidence of our failure. But kids don't need perfect parents. They've never needed perfect parents. They need present parents, human parents, parents that can laugh at themselves, parents who can find joy in the middle of chaos. One of the best compliments I ever received was from my kids who said, "I love that our family is weird. We laugh at the wrong times and make jokes about everything, and nothing is too serious. My friends think you're cool because you're not uptight like their parents." That felt like success. Like maybe, despite all my failures and shortcomings and mistakes, I was getting something right. Humanity needs joy, not someday when everything is perfect. Not when the house is clean and the kids are well behaved and life is under control. today, right now, in the middle of the mess, in the middle of the chaos, in the middle of the absolutely imperfect reality of being alive. People ask me all the time, how do you love 13 kids? Doesn't your love get divided, diluted, spread too thin? Don't you run out? The answer? Love isn't a pie that gets smaller with every slice. It's a muscle that gets stronger with use. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. And the more capable you become of loving, the more capacity you develop. I didn't have less love for my first child when my second child arrived. I didn't love any of them less when the next one came. And the next one, and the next one. My capacity expanded every single time in ways that shocked me. That's what people don't understand about human connection. We think we have limited reserves, like love is a finite resource will eventually deplete. Like we'll run out of it if we give too much. Like our hearts have a maximum capacity. That's what people don't understand about human connection. But love is the one resource that multiplies through use. The one that increases when you give it away. Think about it for a moment. When you love someone, does it make you less capable of loving someone else? When you show kindness to one person, does it drain your ability to be kind to another? When you give your heart to someone, does it leave you with less heart to give? No. It actually makes you better at it, stronger, more capable, more fluent in the language of love. I watched this happen in my own heart. The more I loved my kids, the more I became capable of loving them. The more I practiced patience with one, the easier it became to extend patience to another. The more I learned to see past behavior to heart with one child, the more naturally I could do it with the next. Love isn't diminished by division. It's strengthened by practice. It's expanded by giving. And here's the beautiful part. My kids learned this too. They didn't have a choice, really. They had to learn it. They learned that loving a new sibling doesn't mean abandoning the old one. That your heart expanding to include someone new doesn't mean there's less room for everyone else. They learn to love generously, openly, without hoarding affection. I watch them with each other now, these 13 completely different people, and I see the way they've learned to love abundantly. The way my older kids love the younger ones, the way they protect each other, the way they show up for each other. Humanity thrives when love expands instead of competes. When we stop hoarding affection like it's going to run out, when we stop treating kindness like currency that we have to spend carefully, when we stop believing that loving others somehow diminishes what we have to give. The more you give, the more you have to give. That's not just a nice idea. It's the truth. It's how love actually works. Here's the biggest lesson of all. The one that changed how I see everyone. Adults are just older children. We don't actually grow up. Not really. We just get taller. We learn to hide our emotions better. We develop more coping mechanisms. We use bigger words to describe the same fears. But inside, we're still kids. I've watched my kids grow up, from infants to toddlers to teenagers to adults. And I've realized something humbling. The fears don't disappear. They just get quieter, more subtle, better hidden. We still want comfort when we're scared. We still fear rejection. We still crave approval. We still want someone to tell us we're doing okay and that we matter, that we're enough. The difference is, we're expected to hide it better. We're supposed to have it together. We're supposed to be grown-ups. My teenagers are navigating friendships, identity, purpose, belonging. And I'm still navigating the exact same thing at 40-something. Same struggles, same questions, just more wrinkles. They want to belong. So do I. They want to matter. So do I. They want to be loved for who they actually are, not who they pretend to be. So do I. They're afraid of being too much or not enough. Me too. When I've stopped seeing people as problems and started seeing them as kids who grew up, everything changed. That perspective shift changed how I see everyone. That difficult coworker who always complains, still the kid who learned that complaining gets attention. The distant family member who won't let anyone close, still the kid who got hurt and decided safety meant walls. The friend who pulls away whenever things get real, still the kid who learned that vulnerability leads to pain. That person who overachieves compulsively, still the kid who learned that perfect means loved. We're all just walking around with younger versions of ourselves still living inside us. The child who was told they weren't good enough, the teenager who was mocked for being different, the young adult who had their heart broken, the kid who learned that love was conditional. Those versions don't disappear. They don't get erased when we turn 18 or 21 or 40. They stay with us. They shape us. They inform our reactions, our fears, our patterns. And when we remember that, when we approach people with the understanding that everyone is still healing from something, compassion becomes easier. Patience becomes possible. Grace becomes natural. I think about times I've been harsh with people, impatient, judgmental, quick to criticize, slow to understand. And I realize I was reacting to their behavior instead of understanding their story. I was seeing what they did instead of asking why they did it. Humanity makes sense when viewed through compassion. When we remember that everyone is fighting battles we can't see, carrying stories we haven't heard, healing from wounds we don't know about. We're all just trying to survive, to be loved, and to matter to someone. And maybe if we remember that more often, we'd be kinder to each other, more patient, more generous with grace, kinder to ourselves too, because we're also still healing, still growing, still figuring it out. Family isn't about getting it right. It's about staying, showing up again, forgiving again, trying again, choosing again, committing again. We've had seasons, long, difficult seasons, where everything felt broken, where connection felt impossible, where I wondered if we'd ever feel close again as a family, if the damage was too deep, if we'd gone too far. Seasons where kids weren't speaking to each other, where sibling relationships felt irreparably damaged. Seasons where I wasn't sure my marriage would survive the stress. Seasons where I questioned every single decision I've ever made about how I raised these humans. But we stayed. Not because it was easy. Never because it was easy. Because it mattered. Because these people mattered more than comfort. Because love means staying even when leaving would be simpler. Commitment isn't glamorous. It's not Instagram worthy. It's not always romantic or beautiful or inspiring. It's just staying when staying is hard, when staying feels impossible, when staying requires you to die to yourself daily. It's a decision you make over and over and over again, every single day, sometimes every single hour. It's choosing to love someone when they're completely unlovable, when they're pushing you away, when they're being their worst self. It's choosing to show up when you'd rather run, when escape means so much easier than engagement. It's choosing to believe in the relationship even when you can't see the way forward, even when you're not sure there is a way forward. I think about the culture narrative around relationships. The messages were consistently fed above love and commitment. We're told that if it's hard, it's wrong. If it doesn't feel good, leave. If you're not happy, it must not be right. If it requires work, you're with the wrong person. But that's not love. That's infatuation. That's the beginning. That's the easy part. Real love is what happens when the easy part ends, when the feelings fade, when reality sets in, when you see someone's worst and you stay anyway. My kids have taught me that family is built in the staying, in the difficult conversations we don't want to have, in the forgiveness after the hurt, in the rebuilding after the breaking, in showing up day after day after day. Not in the highlights, not in the perfect family photos, not in the moments when everything feels good, in the moments when everything feels broken and we choose to stay anyway. Humanity doesn't need perfection. It doesn't need presence. It needs people who show up even when it's hard, who fight for relationships even when it's messy, who choose connection over comfort. That's the work. That's the love. That's the legacy. Not a perfect family photo where everyone's smiling. A family that refuses to quit on each other, that stays, that fights, that chooses each other again and again. 13 kids didn't teach me how to manage people or control chaos or run an efficient household. They taught me how to love people. Messy, imperfect, deeply. They taught me that humanity isn't something we achieve. It's something we practice every day, in small moments and big moments, and moments that feel insignificant but turn out to matter most. They taught me that people aren't projects to fix. They're hearts to honor, souls to see, stories to witness. That love isn't about control, it's about connection. That grace changes more than rules ever could. That laughter heals more than lectures. That presence matters more than presence. That everyone is fighting to be understood, to be seen, to matter. And if there's one thing I hope you take from this episode, it's this. Everyone you meet is fighting to be understood. Everyone is carrying something heavy. Everyone is worthy of being seen, heard, and loved. Lead with grace. Laugh often. Love louder than you think you can. Show up. Stay present. Choose connection over perfection. Choose people over principles. Choose love over being right. From our family to yours, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to this imperfect woman talk about her imperfect life. Thank you for being part of this journey with us. This has been We Are The Hansons. I'm Myia Hanson.